IVM.
There's a quick survey to fill out on ivmpodcast.com/survey. It lets us know a little bit more about who's listening to us. And you know what? We're going to do a few prizes. So, we'll do a random drawing of maybe 10 people and we'll send you all some swag. Remember, that's ivmpodcast.com/survey where you can fill out the survey.
Raghavi, remember when this whole thing started and in the pandemic, we brought our own mics and, we were recording all of this at home, putting pillows to make it feel like a studio.
Yeah, I remember.
And now we're back in the studio. For episode 2, how exciting is this?
I know. It's really, really nice here. I'm sure nobody outside this room can hear us because of the soundproofing. Yes. It's also nice to not have to hear the rain pattering on us. That's really nice. But, you know what's the most exciting part about being in studio?
It's the Chief Happiness Officer.
Okay, for those of you that can't hear dog whistles, what Nisha was trying to say is that we're at the Pratilipi office and
they have a doggy.
They have a dog here, and the dog is called, her name is Gilly, but she's also called the Chief Happiness Officer.
She's so cute.
Really
this episode is on Gilly because she stole our hearts.
Oh wow, I also went really high there.
Have you ever wondered why women don't do more crime?
Well, we're here to tell you there's misconduct all the time.
Women are thieves and murderers.
That's gross misconduct.
Con artists, money launderers.
Criminal misconduct.
Financial fraud that's hard to track.
Takes some planning, but still misconduct.
Even breaching a contract.
That's more civil though.
It's misconduct. It's misconduct. We tell you all about women that suck. Things that make you say, what the? It's misconduct.
Hello, and welcome to Misconduct. We are a podcast in which we talk about criminal women on the wrong side of the law. We previously covered many nasty women who have committed or allegedly committed murder or homicide. And it looks like today is going to be one of those days as well. I am Raghavi.
And I am Nisha. And on this episode, we will be talking about Neha Verma, a woman from Indore who in 2013 was convicted of killing 3 women from the same family in cold blood. So Neha was a beautician who lived in Indore and befriended one of the women in the family. Indore, by the way, is a pretty urban, densely populated city in the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh. On 19th June 2011, she plotted and successfully killed 3 women for, money. Turns out money is a great motivator to do terrible, awful things.
Yikes.
The victims were Ashlesha Deshpande, aged 21, her mother Megha Deshpande, aged 42, and Megha's mother, that is Ashlesha's grandmother, Rohini Phadke, aged 70. Neha, however, had company. She had 2 lackeys with her, Rahul Choudhury and Manoj Atodh, who helped her to commit these crimes. The trio killed the women with no mercy and then looted their home. They made off with about 1.5 lakh in cash, ornaments worth 5 lakhs and 2 ATM cards belonging to the victims. Within a few days, all 3 of them were arrested. This case actually took Indore by a storm, which for some reason was considered to be a sleepy little town where such stories just don't come up that often.
Right.
In fact, after the 2008 Noida double murder of Arushi Talwar and Hemraj Banjade, this case kind of took the whole country by storm for a very brief minute though, because as we all know, media and our people are generally very easily distracted.
Oh yeah.
At the time, Neha was referred to the media as a criminal mastermind. She was seen as someone who plotted the whole thing carefully, hired the right people to execute it, for her, and even figured out a way to gain the victim's trust. Unfortunately, Neha also happened to be a pretty woman. So this was something that the media focused on a lot, to the point that it became like an obsession.
I have a question though. Couldn't she have just rob these people? Did she have to murder them?
That's a good question. She may have just been truly that evil. That's possible. Like killing 3 innocent people over just like a few lakhs worth of money.
Yeah.
Or maybe she was like Saina and Malika, just, in it for the cash. Anyone gets in the way, gets killed in the process because we don't want to leave anything, no clues
evidence
left, right? So, but let's investigate that. Who was Neha Verma? Why did she do what she did? And yeah, we'll learn more about her.
That's fair. Okay, so listen, everyone. Even before I start with this whole thing, I want to point towards a source for this episode that I found very entertaining.
Okay.
So recently I found out there's a news channel called P7 News. So they primarily cover news in Hindi, okay? And they do a set of videos under this tag called Crime Patrol News Coverage.
Oh God, this already sounds like...
Yeah, you wait. On 27th August 2011, episode number 36 of this Crime Patrol News Coverage was released. And it was called Neha Verma, Mastermind of the Indore Triple Murder. And the coverage of this news is somehow like the visual representation of what it probably feels like to do 3 kgs of cocaine. Like it's so chaotic and manic, okay? So the whole thing goes like, oh, this is a sensational case.
Yeah.
This Neha Verma is the worst person that ever lived. She's an evil mastermind. You won't believe it. Watch out for this femme fatale. Was it revenge? Was it bloodlust? Was she crazy?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And then they focus on how pretty she was, okay? There was a phrase that they used to describe her, which is Qatil Hasina.
Yeah, what, man?
The thing is, I mean, yeah, it's an 8-minute long video. You should all watch it. But it's not just a video. It is a trip.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to like stay focused only because, I mean, language barriers. But my favorite part of the video is this like reporter that speaks the whole time. He has this like world's most glorious mustache.
Yeah, he does.
And the voice of an angel that fell to the earth and crushed his vocal cords in the process.
Yeah, that's true. It's a pretty nasty video. But it was one of our sources. So I actually recommend that you go watch this video after the episode.
Yes, after the episode, because we still need our views and
please.
love the views. And we'll put this link in the description. But before we get into it, our usual disclaimers. This podcast is not meant for children. On this episode in particular, we will cover murder, gory depictions of a crime scene, manipulation of victims. So it could be highly triggering to some of you, in which case we recommend skipping the episode. Just go to the outro where we talk about merchandise and then just like shop, please.
Yeah.
So yeah, listener discretion is advised.
Cool. So we're going to say what we always say about our female criminals.
Yes.
We know nothing about Neha Verma. Like
Zero.
literally nothing. So, okay, we know she was born in 1990, okay?
Oh, how do you know this, Raghavi?
I know this from murderpedia.org. Is Murderpedia a legitimate source? No way. However, they made the effort to get this information. So I want to give them props for that, you know?
What if they made it up?
I mean, they should at least get props for making it up then, because it's the most anyone has done so far. Also, Murderpedia does link to recent articles about each of these cases, so I can't be really mad, okay?
Right.
Anyway, Neha Verma was born in 1990, likely in Madhya Pradesh, which is a state in India. So there are some references across news articles that she was a small town girl, which are extremely condescending,
Quite.
in my opinion. We do know that Neha was 21 or 22 back in 2011, though.
One sec. Did Murderpedia list her year of birth as 1990 because just some newspaper said she was maybe 21 or 22, sorry.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
So maths.
Okay, yeah, so maths.
How does maths keep coming back to bite
I
us?
don't know, dude. And it's such a pain in my ass. Anyway, so the Indore police at their press conference post Neha's arrested. We mentioned that, right? You mentioned that in the intro. It's fine.
Spoilers.
So the police mentioned at their press conference that Neha at some time used to work with a telecom company and then with a beauty parlor.
Okay.
But we do know one thing. We know Neha had a boyfriend. So his name was Rahul Choudhury. In 2011, he was about 23 years old.
Oh, wait. Let me guess. Was he born in 1989?
Okay, shut up. So Neha and Rahul, they met in Indore, as far as we can tell. Were they in love? I don't know their lives. But maybe he was, because he actively agreed to commit murder with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Rahul, by the way,
that sounds like love.
I mean, you know what? In a way it is. There are many movies about this kind of extremely
true.
toxic kind of love. And
That
we
is
watched
true.
it and we're like, oh, give them an Oscar. Anyway, Rahul, by the way, had a prior criminal record. The Indore police said that he was in jail for 3 months for petty theft and that he was also jailed previously for negligent driving, which resulted in property damage. At this time when she met Rahul, though, Neha was a sales girl for a beauty products company.
Okay.
We don't know which one. because we couldn't find those court documents. But we do know that she was working at In-Orbit Mall in Indore as a sales girl for this brand especially.
I haven't heard the word In-Orbit Mall in a very long time.
Me either. I used to live in Navi Mumbai. So, In-Orbit Mall was like a cool place to hang. They had like all the CCTs and there was a new West Side at the time.
Oh, yeah. I think I saw Harry Potter in In-Orbit Mall.
Oh.
Yeah, it was one of those chairs which has those like, you can lie down, and my mom slept through the entire movie.
Which Harry Potter was this?
5.
Fair.
Yes.
So news reports say that Neha had very high ambitions. So she apparently wanted to be rich and successful, and she didn't want to work a real job.
Hey, she and me both, bro.
Yeah, I know. Samesies. But also you need to stop relating to criminals. That's not cool. So on 16 June 2011, Neha met Megha Deshpande at the mall that she was working in. So it appears that it could have been a chance meeting. I don't think it looks like it was something Neha really planned or something. But Neha did notice that Megha was wearing expensive jewelry. Or did she? I don't know. It could have easily been imitation jewelry and Neha could have not known, right? But apparently that's what struck her immediately, that Megha was, wearing jewelry that immediately attracted Neha. So Neha befriended Megha immediately, and she threw like some casual compliments at her and stuff. And she also pretended to be an agent for the beauty products company that she was working for.
Oh.
And in fact, she was just a sales girl. She wasn't really working in any agent capacity.
Right.
And she told Megha that she had some makeup and skincare products that would work for her. And Megha, who, like any of us, appeared to enjoy the attention a little bit. It makes sense, right? I would.
Yeah.
She was pleased with Neha, and she said, "Hey, sure, why don't you take my number and give me a call sometime?" And Neha asked, "I can come see you instead. What is your address?" And Megha gave the address to her home in Indore.
Oh, man. You know what? Okay, two things. One is, if someone told me that I have the exact skincare products that you need for your skin, I would very definitely be like, yes, of course, take my number. Plus also the fact that it's another woman, you tend to be a little less suspicious. Like if it was some dude, I'd be like, get away from me, pepper spray.
No, I agree. Only because, dude, especially someone walked up to me and said, I have sunscreen, SPF 200.
Oh my God.
And it's only $300.
That's first of all scam.
I know. I realized that now as I said it out loud. Fine, it's only $800 for 12 ml. So that makes sense.
Oh, that does make sense. Why is sunscreen so expensive?
I don't know, bro.
But anyway, Megha Deshpande had moved to Indore in late May 2011, about a week before she and her family were brutally murdered. So they were so new to the neighborhood that the police commented about how difficult it was to get information about these murders because the neighbors had no idea who they were.
Right.
Megha's husband, Nilanjay Deshpande, also lived with her, along with their daughter, Ashleesha, and Megha's mother, Rohini. So Ashleesha was a 21-year-old college student. Nilanjay, her father, who is now the sole surviving member of their family, was the head of the Ujjain branch of a nationalized bank, which is about an hour's travel from the city of Indore. So on 19th June 2011, the family was at home and Nilanjay was not present. The family, by the way, lived in a Srinagar colony. So this was a pretty well-off housing block.
Right.
This area in Indore is actually considered affluent, or at least upper middle class.
Right.
To add some context, a 2,000 square feet apartment in this area with 3 bedrooms would easily be 1 crore rupees, which is 10 million rupees.
Right.
So it's clear that the family lived very comfortably, particularly with the fact that Nilanjay was being employed in a pretty high position. An entirely different thing that we want to point out is Indore is a very populous city in the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh.
Right.
It is known for its historical significance in the Deccan Plateau and for premier educational institutions. It's also labeled as India's cleanest city for about 5 years in a row.
Oh.
Indore also has a very high crime rate.
Oh.
Yes. The Crime in India 2008 report of the National Crime Record Bureau of India, it named Indore as number 1 in the list of crimes committed in the country.
Oh, you said, that really confused me. You said number 1 list of crimes committed. So it was kind of really jarring. I was like, number 1 what? Crime. That was genuinely jarring.
Correct. So, Smart Cities data procured from the website of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs states that reported crimes have exponentially increased. 2015 showed 16,500 reported crimes, but 2017 showed 20,600 crimes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, is it possible, that Indore just doesn't have the resources or the money for this, right? Because from my reading, for a city of about 300 people, there's only 32 police stations.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, it is hard to maintain law if you're only like a handful of people for so many others.
That's true.
Agreed. Crime statistics of Indore usually revolve around crimes against women, such as criminal cruelty to like spouses, dowry crimes, sexual assault, and sexual harassment. So aside from these, the more common crimes appear to be cheating, counterfeiting, forgery, and automotive and property theft.
Okay.
So robbery is also pretty, like, it's a high concern. However, in this entire list that I just read out, murder falls pretty low. It's there, but it's definitely not there in like the posher areas of this city, and definitely not in Srinagar colony where the Deshpandes were living.
That's right. So remember when Megha Deshpande gave Neha her phone number and her home address on 16 June 2011? A thing that nobody should do.
Yeah.
Don't even give it to like...
Not on the first day of meeting someone.
Fair, yeah. I mean, I understand if like... Actually, no. Just don't give your home address to everyone. Go live in a cave. There's no concept of privacy. Your data is compromised anyway. So just go live in a cave. But Megha did do that. She gave up her phone number and home address. And on the same day, June 16th, 2011, Neha met with a friend of hers. This friend was Manoj Atodh, and he was aged about 30 at the time. So now it's not entirely clear who hatched the plan moving forward. It primarily would have been Neha, because from the witness testimonies, apparently it was. But Neha is the only one also who had any contact with Megha Deshpande at this time. So it's good to presume that Neha spotted Megha, assumed that she was rich, and wanted to put together a plan to rob Megha's home. The thing is, Neha didn't really know anything about Megha Deshpande. Did Megha have a husband who would be home? Did she have brothers or other men that could overpower her if she decided to come and rob her?
Right.
Did she have friends nearby that would help, if she heard Megha scream? So Neha wasn't sure about these things, but she knew one thing, which is that she had to bring in some men to potentially help her with this. Rahul, her boyfriend, was an obvious choice. I guess, she also knew he would participate without hesitation, I suppose, so she just went for it. And Manoj, well, Manoj had a gun. A gun would be very useful in getting Megha to just shut up and stay quiet while they robbed her house.
Yep. So they planned it for 19th June 2011. They carried Manoj's gun and 2 knives with them. Don't bring a gun and knife to a no fight.
It was just so bad.
But yeah, Neha first went up to Megha's home. Megha recognized her and let her in. Neha asked some questions about Megha's life. Where was her husband? Who was at home? What did he do? And she also observed that Megha appeared to live quite comfortably. Maybe she was even affluent. So Neha also asked, she actually apparently asked Megha for a job to work as a beautician for her.
Oh,
So it's unclear whether Megha accepted this or refused the offer. In any case, Neha was really only there for like a recon mission. She said goodbye to Megha and just reported everything back to Rahul and Manoj.
Do you ever wonder if Megha had said yes? I don't know. I have no idea how to
So what if she had said yes?
Actually, that's irrelevant. I guess, yeah, I think it's absolutely irrelevant.
Do you think it would have changed her mind as to be like, oh, maybe I can make an honest living?
I was hoping, but then I'm a stupid optimist.
Yeah.
Sorry, my apologies.
I mean, when your sights are set on 5 lakhs, if someone's giving you a
I suppose
steady job,
I don't
if
think
you're
it's
a
gonna be
criminal
relevant.
person, maybe you wouldn't choose that route.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't
for-
understand the criminal mind.
No, it's okay. For someone who, I've read up a lot on criminology over the last year and some specifically for this podcast. But even I, for some reason, I don't know why I'm so optimistic.
I think that's just you.
Oh. Okay. I'm okay with that.
But you know who else was an optimist, but a cruel one? It's Neha.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Because she was really hoping this plan will go
She
through.
probably was. Yeah.
So later that evening, just before sunset, Neha gathered Rahul and Manoj ready to rob Megha's house. This time, when Megha opened the door, Neha and her henchmen just kind of pushed their way in and immediately shut the door behind them. They demanded that Megha sit down and tell them where she kept all her valuables. But what Neha didn't realize was that Megha's daughter and mother-in-law were also at home. So remember that this plan was to rob Megha, and it was just put together in such a rush.
Right.
There was no real care given to what were the different scenarios, how could it play out. Neha didn't think about what will happen if someone else expected was at home at the same time. What if they had guests and they were all like eating snacks or whatever. Neha was also panicking a bit at this time. She was basically running on like adrenaline and spite. This is not some like money heist level planning.
Add some coffee and that's me on a Monday morning.
So Neha rounded up all the people in the house, that is Megha, her daughter and her mother-in-law, and under threat of killing them. At the same time, Rahul and Manoj ran around the house looking for things to loot. So they picked up jewelry, cash, a mobile phone, 2 ATM cards belonging to Megha and her husband. And once that was done though, they were just stuck.
Yeah, I'm
Right?
sure, yeah.
Because you've picked up all these things. And now you have 3 witnesses
Yeah.
to your plan. And Megha knows exactly who Neha was. Where
Yes.
she worked, even her phone number.
That's right. You couldn't have created a more perfect witness.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not clear at this point whether the plan was always to kill their victims. Honestly, it was put together so shoddily initially that we cannot be sure. Some could argue that it was, right? Because
Yeah,
they brought
they
a gun with them and,
And
2
2
knives.
knives, yeah.
Exactly. So as part of the plan was for their own protection in case things went wrong. But the second reasoning doesn't make much sense because, I mean, in what universe could Neha ever think that things could go wrong, you know? Like, this is an upper middle class family living in a nice side of town. Very unlikely that they'd be able to protect themselves. They wouldn't have a bodyguard or something, you know, or like gundas waiting to get to them. So this, you know, if things went wrong, in quotes, sort of theory that we have, I don't believe it to be true. They brought a man who had a gun. You know, they came with the intention of robbing. Maybe they expected fewer people to be in the house, sure. But I'm pretty convinced that they were prepared to kill.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, and they did. So, in cold blood, with no remorse whatsoever, with no sense of morality or decency, Neha asked Manoj to shoot Megha. And Manoj did. He shot Megha right in the head.
Oh God.
Within minutes after that, Neha and Rahul used their knives to stab the daughter and mother-in-law mercilessly. Neha turned towards Megha again and stabbed her for good measure. In minutes, essentially, all 3 of the Deshpande women were lying in a pool of blood, dead. And Neha directed the men to pick up the loot and they ran off as fast as they could out of the apartment building.
Oof.
Yeah.
On that horrific and depressing note, can we just take a break to recover, please?
Yeah, I think it's just pretty rough, guys. So we'll be back in a bit.
Have you ever wondered where the business world is headed? How the ways in which we create, market, and sell to consumers will evolve? Or if we'll ever go back to wearing pants while working? For answers to all of this and more, tune into Advertising is Dead with me, Varun Dugirala. Every Tuesday, as I talk to entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers from across business, media, marketing, and beyond. You can catch all episodes of Advertising is Dead on the IBM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcast from.
Welcome back, everyone. After that break, I hope you had some tea, just were able to distract yourself. Maybe watched a puppy video. Because we went and played with Killy. Let's go back to depression now.
Okay.
So, we're talking about the Neha Verma murder case. They have just, committed the crime and they have run away. So at about 5 p.m. that evening, right after Neha and her accomplices fled, Megha's neighbor stepped out of her apartment. She saw a trail of blood leading from Megha's apartment all the way to the stairs and she called the police immediately. Good on you, lady.
Yeah.
The police did their jobs quite diligently. They were present at the crime scene right away. They handled all the evidence with care. They scoured the apartments for clues. They spoke with all of the neighbors. They were right in presuming that the murderers were also robbers. But they got one thing wrong at the get-go. They thought that the murder was orchestrated so well, like it had to be a contract killing by a seasoned murderer. And that was the news that was passed around, like after the first police press conference, that Indore should fear that there's a contract killer living among them.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you imagine if you're just sitting and watching the news and they're like, there's a contract killer now?
Yeah.
I'm never leaving my house.
Or I will just leave the city.
Yes. So the police did catch one thing though. They found bullet shells at the crime scene. However, they found only one bullet in one of the bodies after the post-mortem was completed. So the question is, where did the other bullet go?
Oh, they found 2 bullet shells.
Bullet shells.
But only the one bullet in the body. Okay.
Here it is.
That's interesting. They did find one other thing as well. The blood of a 4th person who was not the victim.
Guess up.
Indeed. So the mess of blood that had gotten all over the apartment from the 3 victims, that makes sense, right? But in that mess was the blood of a 4th person. And the police were like, what? So they couldn't identify who this person was. Also, it wasn't the same volume of blood.
Right.
So But the thing is, based on the bloody footprints that left the apartment, they came to one conclusion, which was that one of the robbers had probably hurt themselves while they were at the apartment.
Yeah.
And they were right. So unbeknownst to the police, someone did get hurt.
Huh.
And it was Rahul.
Oh no.
So either Manoj was a bad shot or Rahul tried to use the gun and failed. But between the two of them, someone had shot Rahul's foot.
I'm sorry, I don't know why I find this hilarious.
It's fine.
Like, it's already like you're like a bunch of. This is a horribly executed plan.
I
First
swear.
of all,
Yeah.
you've done such a bad job, and then you go and you shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, exactly.
Ridiculous.
You literally
Yes.
shoot yourself in the foot. And the thing is, Rahul's foot was bleeding all over the apartment.
Oh, good God.
In fact, Rahul bled all over Indore.
Oh man,
So Neha, she was really annoyed with Manoj and Rahul at this point.
was she?
I mean, I would be. She insisted to not take Rahul to the hospital.
What?
Yeah, because I don't know about you, but I get the feeling she's a bad girlfriend.
I think so.
Yeah. So honestly, also, how can you take, your accomplice to the hospital?
Fair, I guess.
Because the police would be able to track you right away.
Okay.
So she took Rahul home and she tried to bandage him up.
With the bullet inside.
Yes. So the thing is, I don't know if Neha knew this. You can't just bandage up a bullet hole.
Oh,
Hope to
really?
God that it becomes fine. It's I don't know.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
I'm not a medical professional, but I know that's not how that works.
I feel like this is just a series of nightmarish episodes, just making it worse with every
Yeah.
decision.
And I mean, I want you guys to know, to our audience listening to us, that these series of actions by these criminals is so phenomenally stupid.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it's come to a point where they have left their own bodily evidence
yes.
lying all over the crime scene in the 2000s, when
Yeah.
we had DNA evidence.
Correct,
Then
correct.
they shot themselves in the foot,
Ugh.
literally. And they really botched up what could have easily just been a plain ass robbery. you
Yeah.
know? So the thing is, after Neha tried to bandage up Rahul, he lost blood over a period of about 2 days, which is a lot of blood.
Yeah.
And dude, honestly, if I get a paper cut, I bleed.
Yeah.
It's-
Same.
It's like crazy, right? And it takes forever. Is it age? Maybe it's age. But it eventually reached a point for Rahul where he just begged Neha to please go to the hospital.
Oh, God.
And sweet, kind Neha, the best girlfriend in the world, finally gave him permission to go.
Yeah, it just gets way more stupid after this, though. So, Rahul went to a local hospital to get himself fixed up. The hospital said, yeah, sure. But we do have to call the police because there is a bullet in your foot.
Yeah.
So they did. And then Rahul, this man who murdered 3 women in cold blood, went down to the Annapurna police station and filed an FIR stating that someone had shot his left foot. When the police were like, who, bro? I assume he just shrugged and said, I don't know. And honestly, I don't know, at this point, we can't even make jokes about how phenomenally stupid this whole case became because obviously once the police found out about this, they did just some light questioning and they were able to track down Neha immediately. And Neha, bless her soul, she just gave up Rahul and Manoj instantly. Didn't even think about it. What a lovely girlfriend. This is just proper solid Shabnam vibes.
Oh, yeah. Shabnam also, I remember, just gave up her boyfriend immediately. As soon as the police came to her, she was like, no, he did it. I didn't do anything.
The possible father of her child.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no.
And she
Her
was just
baby
like...
daddy. She gave up immediately. Who is Neha in all this? Just some dude, Rahul, whatever, man. God, anyway, within a few days, all 3 of them were arrested because honestly, who's surprised by that?
Yeah.
This happened on 22nd June 2011. The Indore police held a press conference saying how the 3 were caught. So literally 3 days later, they were caught, right? So what shocked the police and the rest of Indore was just how it came down to one woman, who managed to sort of carry this crime out. Neha, Rahul and Manoj were each charged under sections 302, 397 and 449 of the Indian Penal Code. Nisha, do you remember these sections?
Is it time to play Indian Penal Codes? Which section is it? Do you know?
I
don't know what's the thing.
Yes, I think
How well do you know the sections?
Let's find out.
Let's find out.
It's possible. We could do that, but the problem is this is about murder.
Okay,
So
fine.
let's take the tone way down.
Okay.
But you remember 302?
302 is murder. I don't know about the rest.
Think of the Seema Parihar episode.
Dacoity?
Yeah, that's right,
Oh,
actually. So, robbery and dacoity with attempt to cause death or grievous hurt, that is section 397.
Okay.
That comes with punishment of 7 years imprisonment. Section 449 of the IPC is actually new to us, misconduct.
No. We spoke about this. Miss Condos is like, it sounds like a really bad band that only covers like Hoobastank or some nonsense like that.
There is no bad band that could cover Hoobastank. I'll be very honest with you. But okay, I get it. So, Section 449, it talks about house trespassing in order to commit an offense that's punishable with death. So, basically, if you trespass a house and you intend to do something, any act that is punishable by death, say murder, then you committed an offense under Section 449. So, the punishment for, this kind of an act is usually imprisonment for life or rigorous punishment for 10 years.
So then what if you actually kill them?
Oh, then 302 also applies.
Okay.
So you can apply a series of provisions of the IPC at the same time. It all depends on how much you can prove for intent.
Right.
Because sure, if it's 302, they might be in life, they might get life imprisonment. But then the added weight of it shows, things like premeditation. Okay, so they went into the house to commit this.
Right.
Those things sort of add up over like the entire case. Because for the prosecution, it's sort of just about saying, this is the story, this is what happened, this is what we need to charge each of these people for.
Okay.
So also that fellow Manoj,
Yeah.
he was charged under Section 25 of the Arms Act.
Ooh, this is a new act.
This
What
is a new act. So the Arms Act basically sort of governs or regulates, how to own firearms in the country. That's why you can't just own a gun. That's not how it works. There's a series of sort of, you have to basically register a bunch of things, including yourself. But Section 25 of the Arms Act says that if you hold any prohibited firearms or ammunition, then you can be punished anywhere between 5 to 10 years imprisonment.
Is this what Sanjay Dutt was jailed for?
Oh, no. Sanjay Dutt was, also Section 25 is something he was charged under, but he was charged for multiple other things. Sanjay Dutt, the Bollywood actor who was charged in the 90s, I want to say 95. He was charged for criminal conspiracy under the IPC. And also, this is a big deal, for facilitating the commission of a terrorist act under the Terrorist and Disruptive Activities Prevention Act.
Oh.
Very different. Very, much heavier.
So the only reason it came into, the only reason I thought of it was because for some reason, I saw Sanju, the movie.
Oh, recently?
No, not recently, but it's one of those movies that I've seen, so it would count as oh my God, Nisha, I've seen a movie.
That's just, oh God. That movie has nothing to do with anything right now.
That's true. But that's why I remembered this prohibited firearms because he gets caught in it.
One day, someday, we will do a breakdown of all the criminals, female criminals in the Marvel universe. And then you will be truly useful to me research-wise.
I'm sorry.
I'm so excited about it. Oh, there's a couple of more things about the facts in the case that the police found. So Neha and the two men were apparently drunk throughout the entire crime.
Whoa.
Yeah, so the three murderers had apparently consumed whiskey, beer, and certain sedative substances, which nobody clarified about.
Whiskey and beer? How were they planning to deal with the hangover the next day?
Yeah, I think that's what they were concerned about. The hangover. They thought hangover, but they shot themselves in the foot. So, whoops. Also, the motorcycle that the men brought with them to the crime scene, it was stolen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just make it so evident.
I swear.
Just put your name on a poster and say, today I'm going to kill a person. Because that would somehow have a lower impact than this, So, also apparently Neha came on her scooter, not stolen.
Oh.
Congratulations. Cool. That is the nicest thing we can say about her today. She did not steal the scooter she brought to the crime scene.
Nice.
So when Neha and the men were arrested, they found the same gun that was used on them.
Yeah.
They also found 2 knives that were luckily, they still had blood evidence on them.
Bro, what?
Yeah. To be fair, you can't really remove blood that easily.
No,
it's really, really hard.
That's true.
And DNA is tiny. It's everywhere.
That's true.
Also, they found, forget the blood evidence. They literally found the money, the jewelry, and the ATM cards that were taken from the Deshpande house.
Come on.
I get it. They found an avenue to make a little more money and they picked it up. But all these facts were sort of detailed in a 50-page, really elaborate charge sheet that was filed by the Indore police. It sort of painted, as in the charge sheet, plus eventually when the prosecutor made their case, it painted this picture of greed and desire for Neha in particular to live among the rich. The prosecution actually portrayed this primarily as something Neha did. I don't know really if this is something that the prosecution did because they were following current public opinion or did they add to the public opinion. I'm not sure which way it goes because it's sort of covered across the board.
Yeah.
And again, also, I don't mind anybody being greedy or
Right.
desirous generally,
Uh,
but if it translates to murder,
yeah.
yeah,
That's the line for us.
yeah, we do have a line.
Yes.
It would seem. But there were 36 witnesses that were brought before the court, many of whom attested to Neha's thirst for wealth, especially.
Oh.
So yeah, those three were as guilty as I am bad at maths.
Well, do you think that the witnesses were also influenced by what was already spoken about in the media?
That's very likely in any case, to be honest. I mean, so in India we don't have this, but in the US, of course, there
Yeah.
is, a jury system.
Correct.
And of course, if one of the reasons you can get a mistrial in a criminal case is
Yeah.
if you are unable to be judged by a jury of your peers.
Mm.
So if the prosecution and the defense can never arrive at a list of just jury members,
Yeah.
it's mistrial. I mean, they can pretty much be dismissed if they want to.
Right.
It happens in really famous cases. In O.J. Simpson's
Yes,
murder
I
trial.
was just thinking of it.
Yeah, I could see it right across from the room. I can see your eyes sparkling.
That was the other thing that I have seen. Did Neha Verma have her day in court? Well, about 2.5 years after Neha and her henchmen murdered these three women, a special court in Indore in 2013 held all three of them guilty. All three of them received the death sentence. This case would be revisited by the High Court, which affirmed this decision. So Neha, Rahul and Manoj would be hanged.
Right.
This was apparently the first time in the history of Indore that a woman was awarded the death punishment. It's also the first time that a single court in Indore ordered the maximum possible punishment of death to 3 people at the same time.
Right. So in the 44-page judgment of the court, they basically stated that this is one of the rarest of rare cases, and it deserved the death sentence. So the court said, and I quote, "For the greed of some rupees, 3 hapless women of a family were killed in a very cruel manner. The culprits deserve no mercy." So the court compared this to another famous murder trial, in this case called Machi Singh versus State of Punjab. The case there also was actually very similar. They were examining the murder of 3 generations of women. Very, very similar to this current case. In this, but as in the Neha Verma case at least, aside from the witnesses, 96 pieces of evidence were filed against Neha and her accomplices by the Indore police. So remember we mentioned earlier that the Indore police was really, really diligent about
Correct.
this case.
Yes.
They clearly were, because 96 pieces of evidence, all pointing towards, either circumstantial or clearly available evidence. They also found the murder weapons, you guys. So it wasn't that hard, to prove this case. The court also found all of these evidences to be sufficient.
Yep. Nilanjay Deshpande, the father of Ashleesha and husband of Megha, he expressed satisfaction over the court's verdict and thanked the prosecution and police department for getting justice for his family.
Right.
So when speaking to the Times of India, he said, "I had full confidence in the judiciary and police did a great job."
Right, at the time of sentencing, Neha's family was present. They actually created this absolute uproar in the court right after the decision was pronounced. A Times of India article from 2013 says, and I quote, "Family members of the convicts of the triple murder case created ruckus at the district court, levelling allegations against judiciary, police, and even abusing the waiting media persons on Friday."
Oh God.
Apparently, this is genuinely quite sad. Neha's mother got an epileptic seizure in court when she heard the decision. The mother and the sister of Rahul Choudhury also tried to storm inside the court to have a personal chat with the judge.
What?
A personal chat with the judge sentencing Rahul.
Okay.
A chat with the judge. Anyway,
sure.
the mother also told the media that her son was sentenced due to some collusion between the court and the police and the victim's family.
Moms
she also
being
said,
moms,
I
I
swear.
guess.
Yeah, she also said that the son was a juvenile at the time. And spoiler alert, he was not. I did the maths. We all did the
Did you?
maths. We did. So the district public prosecutor publicly denounced the actions of the family members of Neha and Rahul. And they stated that, none of their allegations were based in fact. The real facts, they said, were presented in court, and the court found them satisfactory enough to sentence them appropriately.
So this is without a doubt like a win for the Indore police and the judiciary. It was political in a way, of course. The media was reporting on it non-stop. The entire city was just waiting for the judgment with bated breath.
Yeah.
But Indore, which had been consistently cited as an unsafe city, it found like a small win to celebrate. So they cracked a case, they found all the evidence, the state presented it well to the court, and Neha and her accomplices were sentenced. I have to say that this was like commendable effort by the Indore police and the public prosecutor, and I think we should all take pride in this.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This also excites us on a personal level because not personal level, personal note, whatever. We have seen many cases just being botched by the police in India, including cases that I think any of us could just reasonably make an inference on.
Yeah.
So to see that the police have, got this win, it actually feels kind of nice.
I agree.
Moreover, because it resulted in the family getting some sense of justice.
Yeah.
The Deshpandes will obviously never get their family back. A man lost his wife, his daughter, and his mother-in-law to like a brutal, unnecessary murder. Nilanjay Deshpande, he has lived through hundreds of hells and more, and that's just us putting it lightly. So this kind of justice, however small, is just, I guess it's just something that we should all hope for.
Yeah, and on that optimistic note, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, do we talk about the death sentence?
We threatened it last episode and now it's happening.
It's probably happening. So we'll see you back after the break.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Advertising is Dead, Piyush Gupta, president of Keystone, talks to Varun about how his experimental marketing agency is helping brands get on the metaverse. On Voices for Water, Karthik is joined by Dr. Anju Gaur, Senior Water Resource Management Specialist. Together, they navigate the landscape of Indian water data. On Pulyabazi, Pranay and Saurabh dig into why exactly the taxes on petrol are so high. On Ek Chuski Finance, Priyanka tells us how we can avoid taking a financial risk. And on Marathi Khirkitun, the Deshmukhs explore the beauty of the Devanagari font on the occasion of Akshaya Tritiya. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're following this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Word of mouth is one of our biggest, most helpful things you can do for us. We'd really appreciate that. And also, don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening on. And you can also check us out on YouTube. Go check out ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. You get a list of all of our YouTube channels there. We're also doing a small listener survey to better understand how you respond to our shows and the advertising on the network. We would really appreciate it if you could spare a few minutes to fill it out. It's at ivmpodcast.com/survey. This really helps us build better shows for you. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors for this week, SBI Life Insurance, India Water Portal, and Jupiter, a digital banking app.
Welcome back after the break, everyone. So where we left off was Neha Verma and her 2 accomplices were sentenced to death. And I know what you guys are thinking. Will Nisha and Raghavi have yet another aggressive debate over whether the death sentence should still be given out by courts?
Maybe.
But what I want to say is I actually don't know how I feel about this anymore. So Neha Verma is obviously a sad, disgusting woman who I almost deserves her fate. I feel...
Wow. Are you becoming pro death sentence?
No, I'm not, okay. But sometimes I do wonder, maybe it's this podcast, maybe it's all the research you've done, maybe it's all the reading I've done, maybe I'm just saturated about hearing about how terrible people can be. But it's kind of made me realize that some of these women maybe are kind of way beyond redemption.
Wow. It's so funny that you would pick this episode to say that. Because I actually think that life imprisonment would have been enough for this one.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because I feel like it wasn't really premeditated murder. It's more stupid than anything. Like this could have easily just been a robbery and like done with it. And I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I think a life imprisonment is enough for this one. That's kind of cool. I feel like this podcast is making both of us rethink our principles.
Yeah.
Right?
I think... both our sets of principles have been tested.
Yeah.
Some way or the other. And we inflicted this moral crisis on ourselves.
But, I think that's okay because are we even humans if we don't think, assess and reassess and rethink every now and then? So,
yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I needed that. Thank you. I was having a weird moral dilemma right now because I was like, hey, I think she should be put to death. Dude, trust me, I felt really really stressed out about that.
It's fine. But I guess it's difficult for us to keep reminding ourselves that we're not all just black and whites. We are 50 shades of grey.
Oh God. Also, we just made this about ourselves.
But I do have a question. Do you think Neha Verma will actually be hanged?
Oh, okay. So, we know India has a very bad sort of track record of executing women in
Correct.
particular who have received death sentence, right? And by bad track record, I mean they have never done it.
Right.
So all the cases you covered even so far in the podcast, right? Sarah and Malika murdered at least 6 women that we know of. She was sentenced to death, but then it was commuted to life imprisonment.
Correct.
By the Karnataka High Court. In fact, if you're supposed to compare the cases, then effectively Neha should also not get the death sentence. You're right.
Yeah.
Shabnam, who murdered her entire family,
Exactly.
including a 10-month-old child by drugging them and then brutally stabbing them. All that she could marry the man she loved, by the way, and get her family's property. Her sentence has not yet been commuted. So she may be hanged, but she hasn't been so far.
Right.
Renuka Shinde and Seema Mohan Gavit, who along with their mother Anjana Bai Gavit, kidnapped and murdered many children. And they were finally convicted for 13 kidnappings and 9 of the murders. The mother died in jail, but the other 2 are currently in Yerwada jail in Pune. Their death sentence just got commuted to life imprisonment.
Yeah.
Mostly because it took so long to carry out their execution that it became a moral request. You know?
Right.
It's like a humanitarian request that was made to the court, and the court said, yeah, fine, all right.
So that's what I mean by like the 3 cases that you've just mentioned.
Yeah.
These are truly rarest of rare,
Yeah,
right?
I get
Compare
it.
that to the Neha Verma case, I don't think it holds the same kind of power, I guess. Like especially the Renuka Shinde one. My God, there were so many children murdered.
Yeah.
Even if it did take like so long, whatever moral, humanitarian, blah, 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 that definitely should have been a death sentence.
I get it. Yeah. I also think, I mean, on some level, we don't know enough about the Neha Verma case also.
Fair.
Because honestly, if I could, if we had access to maybe witness testimonies,
Yeah.
if we had access to her cross-examination, we will tell more about her. What if she did feel remorse? If she was dumb in court also and she decided to, talk out
Correct.
against her, against the wishes of her defense lawyer. We don't know these sorts of things, right? So maybe that did influence the court. Maybe they thought she was being extremely audacious about the stuff that she did. And they were like, you know what? This deserves the death sentence because there's no remorse whatsoever.
Fair.
So that is possible as well. There's also a 2019 report of the Economic Times, by the way, that says 720 prisoners have been executed in India since 1947, but none of these are women.
Yeah, so who even knows? Will Neha Verma be hanged for her crimes? Should she be hanged for her crimes?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who are we to tell? We just host a podcast. So just don't take our word for this thing.
Yeah. Actually, we are not sources of anything
Yeah, exactly.
at all. Our sources are listed on our blog,
Yeah.
but that's the most of it. Also, on this note, well, this is the world's saddest fun fact. The first people to be executed in independent India, as per my research, were actually Nathuram Godse and Narayan Diapte.
Oh.
Yeah, they were the assassins of Mahatma Gandhi.
Right.
So they were hanged to death in Ambala Central Jail in Haryana on November 15th, 1949. Yeah.
I also want to spend some time on this whole criminal mastermind tag that Neha Verma had going for her.
Yeah.
You know what she reminds me of?
What?
Cruella de Vil.
Hey,
Right?
I kind of, yes.
Yeah, because she's like super smart, resourceful, great at organizing, but she got foiled because of her 2 dumbass henchmen.
Oh my God, yes. That
Yeah.
sounds accurate. Yeah.
Don't like Rahul and Manoj remind you of that? What's his
Yeah,
Jasper and Horace
The tall,
from
yes. Them.
101 Dalmatians.
Yep.
I mean, just from the description that we have from them, it seemed like they bumbled around and did stupid stuff like shooting themselves in the foot, man.
I just-
Who does that? It sounds so cartoonish, right? It's just, it's like unbelievable.
Yeah.
But on a separate note, the decision kind of generally rocked the city of Indore and the rest of India as well. In fact, in late 2013, 2 separate orders for death sentences were passed by Indore Sessions Court. On December 13th, the judgment against Neha Verma and her henchmen were passed. On December 19th, 3 women, along with 8 men from their family, were given the death sentence for repeated crimes of dacoity and murder.
Right.
So they appear to have hatched a plot to murder a timber merchant and steal money from his safe, and they were successful. So before December 2013, no women in Indore had ever been sentenced to death.
Oh.
But within a span of 6 days, 4 women had been sentenced to death in Indore. In both the incidents, women were among the main conspirators and the victims were from posh localities. So Indore had seen a lot in a very short span of time. So I feel really bad for the city now.
Well, one upside is that the food in Indore is great.
Good Indore, land of food and crime.
No, that's awful. So sad. But yeah, you guys, thanks for sticking with us through this episode.
Yes.
You can listen to, the other episodes of our podcast on the IVM Podcast Network, or of course, anywhere you get your podcast, because that's how podcasts work. They are everywhere.
Yes, on a separate and additional note, we want to ask you, our listeners, something very, very important. Do not call them that word. Don't say it.
Fine, okay.
Thank you. So, you guys, we want to start merchandising. I'm keeping that.
Yeah. It's purchasing. I mean,
Purchasing
you get
merch.
to purchase our merchandise.
Yes, correct. So if you would be interested in merchandising, please let us know. Drop us a line on our social media or our email. We'll have a bunch of products. Well, what do we think that we might want to sell?
I don't know, pins, badges, stickers. Last week I suggested tattoos. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to
Oh
put it
my
up
God.
there. Let's see how the interest works out.
So maybe we'll put a poll or something in our episode description. You can let us know if we have enough orders from you guys. We'll think about like getting some stuff done for you all, and it's all subject to interest. So if you don't have enough interest, you will get nothing.
That is correct.
We will still get purchasing stuff for ourselves though, so we can make you all jealous.
I mean, that's actually fair. Just show us interest if you'd like it, guys.
Yes.
Let us know. I mean, we'll link the survey in the description here. Please let us know if you really like these ideas, and we're happy to bring them to you. And also, by the way, we have a new Instagram presence.
That's right.
Please don't follow us on our personal Instagrams anymore, because I only post about my cats and Nisha only posts about saris.
Yes.
So if that's the content you want, you can stay. But if you'd like to actually listen to the podcast, please go down to the Instagram handle Misconduct Pod. That's also in our episode description. Please go and follow us there.
Yes, and we will see you on the next episode of Misconduct.
What is the workplace, and how does your gender and body affect your right at work? Hey, I'm Priya Mirza, and on the Longest Constitution podcast, we critically examine the vision of the Indian Constitution and laws. In season 1, we looked at sex, gender, sexuality in India, and the landmark judgments which transformed our rights as citizens in this country. In season 2, we discussed the laws which shape the workplace and examine how ability, competence, and merit impact us, and much more. Join me, Priya Mirza, every Wednesday only on the IVM Podcast app, website, and all the major podcast streaming platforms.
Ladies, I'm sure you will relate to it if I say that we are constantly busy with work, studies, cooking, and what not. And amidst all of this, we often forget an important element that needs our desperate attention: finance. So here we are, bringing to you SBI Life Presents A Sip of Finance, a women-exclusive podcast where we will teach you how to manage personal finances in a simple and straightforward way with your host, Priyanka Acharya, a finance expert who's been in the industry for 14 plus years. And not just in English, but in 7 more languages. So tune in every Tuesday for fresh episodes on the IVM Podcast Network and all major podcast streaming platforms.